We hear it all the time here at Kids Matter. How do we engage with families? How do we help them disciple at home? Well, it all starts with a first impression. Today, we're joined by Martha Harvey from With Families, and we're diving into how you can have a great first impression with the families who come to your church. Let's help those families keep coming back, why don't we?
Hey there, and welcome to the Kids Matter podcast, your go-to resource for all things children's ministry. Each week, we bring you fresh ideas, inspiring stories, and practical insights to help you lead, love, and serve kids like never before. Whether you're just getting started or you're a seasoned pro, we're glad you're here. Let's get started.
I'm Hannah Augustine, and I've witnessed the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to first impressions. And I've done my fair share of putting the wrong foot forward, but it doesn't have to be that way for your kids' ministry. Today, you're getting another preview as Martha shares content from her breakout for the Kids Matter conference. We are just a few months out from gathering with thousands of KidMin leaders in Evansville, Indiana. It's October 6th through 8th, 2026, and we want you to join us. You're not going to want to miss this, and it's not too late to get your tickets. Head over to thekidsmatterconference.com to get your tickets today. Now, I want to tell you about some exciting news from KidCheck. They recently introduced the one-of-a-kind check-in station Pro. It replaces the need for a computer, iPad, or tablet. Families check in right on the device itself, no computer or tablet required. Plus, with its built-in mobile printing capabilities, label printing is quick and effortless, and no wireless-specific printer is needed. The KidCheck check-in station Pro's compact and innovative design provides multiple placement options for a clean, modern, welcoming check-in area where it works best for your ministry. Optional floor stand and tabletop stand add-ons are also available to make it a complete kiosk. You can check that out at store.kidcheck.com and look at the exciting new check-in station Pro. And that link will be in the show notes. Totally appropriate for our topic today to be talking about check-in stations, right? Very good text.
Yes.
I love it. And friends, I'm excited to introduce you to Martha Harvey, who has served in children's ministry for over 15 years. She's also the co-founder of With Families, a ministry dedicated to helping parents become the primary disciple makers in their home through simple, meaningful family discipleship resources. She's passionate about equipping both churches and families to create lasting faith moments that go beyond Sunday mornings. And that is where With comes in. It actually stands for worship in the home. Love that. And again, it's helping you as the church equip your parents to disciple their kids, not just on Sundays, right? That you want families to be doing this at home. We know that parents are the greatest influence in the life of their kids. And so that's what this is all about. Through family discipleship resources with kids, which we'll talk about today, church partnerships, speaking events, and ministry training, With Families provides simple, practical tools that help families grow in faith together. And I've already decided that Martha is my best friend because we met at the Southern Baptist Convention and just really hit it off. So I love her style. She's so fun. You are going to really enjoy today's conversation. And we're going to be reunited at conference. So we want you guys to come join It's going to be great. Tell us a little bit about why first impressions matter in children's ministry. Why is it such a big deal?
Well, thank you, Hannah. I do want to say thank you so much for having me on the podcast. I love you. I love Kids Matter. I love this ministry, and I loved meeting you this summer. I cannot wait for us to be reunited. And today, we are talking about something that I think is so important. First impressions matter. Kids matter, and so do first impressions.
I love that. That's the new branding. With the
branding. Tag it out, guys.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, but here's why they matter, okay? Because families, when they walk in the door of your building, your church, wherever you're meeting, they are already making decisions about your ministry and this church long before they hear a sermon, long before they even meet you, before they get your brochure or your flyer or your spiel of what your mission is or where your kid's going to be to get today. They're already asking questions and making decisions based on what they see, those first impressions, telling them, is my child going to be safe here? Am I welcome here? Are these people organized? Do they care about excellence? Are they actually happy to be here? You know, all of the little things are communicating these first impressions to them. And the hard thing is, and we all do this, but we're not asking it out loud. We're firing on all cylinders and thinking these things in our head. It's even probably hard to communicate all that we're absorbing when we are walking into a new place, but we are making those decisions immediately. And I'll always say, before families are going to hear your mission statement, they are already experiencing it. They
Wow.
are experiencing your values in just the way the space is laid out and what's being communicated to them. And I have 2 examples for us today of why these matter so much, okay? The first one, I live in Texas, okay? So y'all probably already hear it, okay? But is Buc-ee's, okay? If you have not been to a Buc-ee's, then I'm so sorry. You need to
Yeah,
go on a
they're
road
rare.
trip.
I think like further north are harder to find, but down
They
here in the
are,
south,
they are.
yeah.
Buc-ee's, if you can imagine, is like the Disney World of a gas station. And what I love about Buc-ee's is they are meeting a need. They do have like 100 gas pumps for you to pull up and fill your car up with gas. But far beyond that, and probably what is now overshadowed the fact that you can, in fact, fill up your car with gas there, is the experience that Buc-ee's has created. And wonderful branding, might I add. Okay. So my kids were on the road. They see that Buc-ee's sign. They're like, we have to go. They have to go. And that's already speaking to the experience and that first impressions that they've had years ago, right? They want to go because they see it. But when you walk into Buc-ee's, you are greeted audibly. Like they are literally like, welcome to Buc-ee's. Welcome to Buc-ee's. It's clean. It's bright. There is clear signage everywhere. You know where the brisket is. Most importantly, you know where the bathrooms are. The
Okay.
bathrooms are so clean and you feel like they have thought about you being there, right? The whole experience is so intentional and you feel safe there. You feel taken care of. You're like, all my needs will be met, from gas in my car to a clean potty to like some warm cinnamon pecans. Okay. We're done. We're great, you know? But you know, this is what I think about with church when it comes to the Bucky experience, right? When people come to church, they are looking for that experience and that community and that excitement, because the truth is like, I can listen to a sermon and my favorite worship song right now. Like right now. Okay. So yes, we go to hear sermons and to worship the Lord together, but it's all about that together and that experience. And so we have to really be intentional with those first impressions of the experience that we're creating and in all of the moments. And this is the last example I'll give of just why those first impressions are so important. So this summer, after I met Hannah in Florida, we took our kids to Disney for a couple days, and I actually ran into one of my friends that I used to work with years ago, and he was outside Toy Story Mania, which was a very popular ride, and the line, yes, I feel like it's always a long wait. You're just in it to win it. But the line was out the line, okay? You know, when you get to those lines and they are like now out in the general walking area. And I ran into him because he was over there like helping people get into the new line that was now out of the line, you know? And I was like, oh my goodness, it's so good to see you. And I'm watching him do his job. It's, 90 something degrees. Everyone is so hot. And he's helping them get into a line that's well over an hour long. And he is just smiling and being so kind. He's so excited to be helping people get in an over an hour line. And so I looked at him. I was like, okay, be honest with me. Like, how do you do this? Like, how are you doing this? This is so hot. And like, you're not even like a parade dancing, which is like what he normally does. He's like, every magical moment matters. That's literally what he says to me. And that's really stuck with me because I think the same is true in the experience that we're creating in our churches, in the ministry, with our volunteers, in the moments that we get with families, whether they have been in this church for decades or they're a brand new visitor, every moment matters. Every greeting, every clean hallway, every organized countertop, every trained volunteer, every easy to read flyer, the wall color, the organized bin, the signage, every conversation, every little detail is communicating either we are so glad you're here and we were expecting you, or it's communicating, we didn't think you were going to come today. We didn't think we were having a new visitor. Or, yeah, we didn't have time to prepare for you this week because we were doing other stuff, you know? And we don't want that, you know? And we know that that's not really what the heart of the minister is, right? But it's just the moments and that at first impression experience that can really translate so many decisions and things about the values of your ministry long before you have even opened your mouth. And so we have to remember, like, when families feel cared for and those distractions are removed and those first impressions are made well, we're actually like ushering them into this experience of getting to worship the Lord and grow in their faith, even more so because we've removed so many of those distractions. That's my short haha spiel of why first impressions really matter. Can you tell I'm very passionate about this?
Well, and we need to be. And I think sometimes it can feel shallow, right? Because it's like, oh, it doesn't matter. And maybe you've had that mindset of like, well, people should just come to church because they want to learn about Jesus. You know, yes, you're not wrong, right? Maybe that's why we should come to church. But you're correct. We can get all these resources not at church. What we can't get is the people and the love and the community and the opportunities to serve and to meet people. And so when we can make these moments, my husband and I love Disney. I'm wearing one of my Disney shirts today. And I don't work at Disney, but when I see kids at Disney, like I want to help make their experience magical. And I don't even work there because I'm thinking this is such a magical day and I just want them to have the best day. So if I see a kid that's sad or I see a kid, you know, maybe having a hard time, I just want to be like, let me buy you a balloon. You know, balloons are expensive. We can't do that. But you get what I'm saying. And if I feel that about Disney World, how much more should I be feeling that at church?
Yes.
We want kids, we want families to feel welcome and to feel like they want to be there, to associate Jesus with safety and welcome and joy. And especially for parents today, right? I think there's a really big need to feel safe, to feel like things are clean, to feel like they're welcome. You know, maybe 20 years ago that didn't matter, but today there is a high standard. And so we as the church, we're not trying to compare, we're not trying to compete, but we want to do our best and we want to work with excellence. We used to talk at my church that excellence is different from perfection, but excellence increases influence. So when we work and we operate from a place of excellence, that's going to impact how people are viewing us. It's going to give us more of an opportunity to influence other people, which kind of leads us to, you know, what are the biggest mistakes maybe churches make with first impressions? Where do we go wrong?
Yeah, that is a really great question. And you know, I think sometimes you can get discouraged before you even try because you look at Pinterest, you look at Instagram, you play the comparison game, and you're like, okay, but that is not our church budget. In fact, there are $0 in the first impression budget line. It does not even exist. Like, I am the first one to think of it, you know? Whatever it may be. But you might really believe you need this huge budget to create this great first impression. And that is just not true at all. Some of the most welcoming churches that I've ever visited and the ones that just made me so excited to be there or take my kids, they did not have the latest, greatest furniture or tech, although that check-in thing, that is great.
Cool.
That is pretty great. That should be a budget line. Okay. They didn't have the fanciest decor or anything like that, but they really were just so intentional and they paid attention to the details. Things like clear signage. I walked in and I know where to go and I don't have to stand there awkward or go awkwardly talk to someone. I have no idea who you are and I'm walking up, you know. There was a clear and inviting welcome area. You know, it's clean. It's not cluttered. There is a clear, identifiable team. Like, if I do have a question, I can figure out in 5 seconds who to go ask, And it's bright, it's colorful. So these are things that I just listed. We'll get into in a minute, but these are things that you can do with little to no budget to help make that first impression. But I think some of us just don't because we're like, I don't have the dollars. So we just won't. This faded bulletin board, it's fine, Um, so we just don't. Okay, the second mistake I see churches make is that we stop seeing the things that first-time visitors would, okay? And it's just like your own home. Like, think of when you walked in to where you live now for the first time, you were like, we are cleaning that drawer. I'm wiping it down. I don't know what had been put in here, Or we're going to lay that sticky stuff in the drawers, the shelves for our dishes. We are going to vacuum. We're going to fix that chipped paint. That wall has a crack. We're fixing that. Like, you just saw it all with fresh eyes. But as you live in your home longer, you're like, yeah, that frame is broken, but oh well, like, it's still holding that picture up. It's fine. Like, or you're like, yeah, well, this is just what the living room looks like when it's laundry day. And so if people come over, like, this, we're used to it, And the same is true with church. Okay. The longer you are in your ministry at your church, the more you start to get used to the things that might have really stuck out to you at the beginning. Like when something breaks or when something is dirty or when something is really hard to find, but you're just so used to, like, I go here, I go through this rear door, I open this cabinet, and then it's down in the bottom in that green folder. And we all know that. So, like, why shouldn't you? We just get used to it, okay? And so the same is true for churches. And I feel like that is a really big mistake. We stop seeing it with fresh eyes again and again and again. And here's the thing. I don't think people do that. Like, we don't get used to the space because they're not caring. Like, you ask any children's minister, do they want their space to look this way or that way? Yes, of course they do, But it happens because ministry is very busy. You are like the circus act, spinning all the plates. I get it. Like, I totally get it. And changing out a bulletin board can easily just be like, that's not happening today. Like, there's an emergency, or I have to go visit so-and-so, or like 5 volunteers just bailed on me. So like, literally, we can't make that Valentine's, and that's just whatever, like, it just gets pushed down on the priority list. So I think half of the battle there is mentally, as the leader, pushing it up in the priority list, remembering that the experience you're making for them really matters, and the guest are noticing the things that you stopped noticing. But the good news is that, like, we're going to get into a lot of this. It doesn't really require this massive capital campaign. It just requires your fresh eyes and some creativity. And I know if y'all are in children's ministry, you have creativity or you wouldn't survive.
That's the truth. Listen.
So one of my biggest advices, though, with these common mistakes, the easiest thing to do is go visit other churches. That is free. You can go be the visitor. When you are taking your, one family vacay for the year, go to church that Sunday and be a visitor of a church in the area and go experience it like a visitor, because you are. But having fresh eyes at a church, one, might really open your eyes up and make you think back to your own guest experience at your church. It might give you really great ideas. All my best ideas were not mine. They were someone else's. Like, I just copied them because they were really great ideas. But you can go get some fresh ideas to bring to your church just by going to a new church and experiencing it like a guest, asking yourself, okay, what feels confusing right now? Or what makes you think, I wish we did that? And then come back to your church and then do the same thing. Park at your church in all the different lots. Enter your church through all the different doors. Pretend you are the first-time guest and see it with new eyes, going through every entrance, walking through and asking, can I find where the kids check in? From all the doors, is there something some kind of signage, or will there be a person to help me get from point A to point B? Can you find the bathrooms? What do you see first? What feels warm? What feels welcoming? What feels super confusing? Okay. And so I think having the experience at a new church and then bringing it back to your own is so good, because the reality is we do know where everything is. We know where the best parking spot is, because that's the shortest distance to the door we need to go in to get to our office, to get to the door, to load in the 5 things of water bottles. Okay. Because I'm not taking the long way. I got to carry heavy things. We know where the preschool hallway is. We know where it all is. But the first time family, they do not. And I think that's more important today than ever, because my husband always says this. He says there is no such thing as the first time visitor anymore, especially if they're bringing their kids. Okay. Our parents today are more aware and more sensitive for the safety of their kids than ever before, as they should be. Okay. Like, as they should be. In the same way that we're caring about our volunteers and training and background checks and all of that, they care. And so more times than not, they will have already checked out your church through your website, through your social media, through any kind of YouTube videos you've posted, or pictures that you've put out there. They are trying to figure it out before they walk in the door. And so I would say, like, the website is really your front door of your church. And so if we're making first impressions, that's a whole nother podcast, Hannah. But
Yes.
let's talk about that, Let's talk about the real front door of your church is online. But if they're physically making it to your physical front door, they probably already have a sense of your ministry and your church. But then when they walk through, it needs to be immediately start either reiterating what they've read online and match it of, like, does this place feel like a safe place for my kids? Is this somewhere where I feel like my family can belong? Because online it looked like y'all are super welcoming and I can see my family here. But when I walk in, does that experience match? Does this place, like you were talking about, does this place feel as nice or nicer than my own home? Because I want this to be a place like I'm excited to be at. And are these people really excited to be here and actually happy that I'm here? So I just feel like all of these things, these are the mistakes we can make because we just kind of give up before we start, or we haven't seen it with fresh eyes in a really long time, because we're awesome and we have a super long tenure at a ministry, which is super great for the longevity and the momentum of a ministry. But sometimes it can be to our detriment in the things that we just get used to, right, in our ministry. And so we have to be intentional in what we're looking out for and not giving up. Like, there are really great solutions and easy ways to be intentional, so that we can welcome these families.
So good. You need the fresh eyes, friends, because you're absolutely right. We get used to it in our home. My parents were just visiting and my mom, noticed something in our kitchen that maybe needed some attention. And again, she wasn't being critical. She was like, I don't know if you can tell because you're here all the time, but, like, have you noticed XYZ, needs to maybe be fixed, or maybe could use some TLC. I did not know, so thank you for telling me, because I'm living in it. And so you don't see the things or,
Yes.
notice all of the details. So even if, when you're on vacation, maybe you're not missing any Sundays, go to a local church, ask if you can go by during the week. Hey,
Yes.
ask the kids pastor, kids director, will you give me a tour of your kids ministry? And
Yes.
I can give you feedback. Would you come to my church and give me feedback, at some time during, and get a set of eyes in their work together and figure some of this stuff out. And I love that you're talking about how this doesn't have to be on a big budget. I think sometimes there's illusion that if you're at a big church, you have a big budget. I have been in a big church. Was our budget big? Yes. But when you actually break it down to, like, the amount of people you have coming, it's not massive. You know what I mean? Like, more budget, but more kids. So you're still spending the budget. It does look different. So I'm not pretending it doesn't. But even at a big church, you have to be smart with how you're spending budget doing things. So big church, small church, somewhere in the middle, how do we create wow moments on a limited budget?
Okay, well, I made a list for us today of some of my favorite hacks of how to Some of these are for free, okay? And some cost very little. So we're going to go all across the board because you're right, Hannah. It doesn't matter if you are in mega church or like church plant, okay? We got 10 kids. You can do this with any kind of budget size, and any kind of space, okay? So the first thing I would encourage you to do is you need to go and clean and you need to declutter. That's a thing you can do for free. Well, you might have to buy some rags and some cleaning supplies. But
that's, you can get that at the dollar store. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, you do what you gotta do.
And you know what? Clean space says save space, okay? If I go in and I see broken toys or it looks like all the donated toys from the yard sale down the street and everything is dirty and old, I don't want to leave my kids there. Because, I mean, if you have a 1-year-old, they're going to put that in their mouth. And we don't need that.
And all the other 1-year-olds had put that in their mouth.
Right.
Yeah.
So clean and declutter, remove the overflowing bulletin board of tons of papers, take away the things that no longer serve in the ministry, even if it was great like 6 months ago, but it has no purpose now and just you haven't had the moment to take it down. Like just go declutter and clean. Okay. So that would be my first one.
You may be listening and you're like, I'm not good at that. Okay. Someone in your good at that and would come in and do that for you. And find one of the moms, find an auntie,
Yes.
maybe a guy, who just has a good eye and can come in and do it. Because like I have a high tolerance for disorganization. So don't get me wrong, like visually, I want things to be clear, but I'm also like, I can put up with things. Like coming back from SBC, I had stacks of papers until last week because it was like all the things I'd gotten from all these booths. And so finally last week, I was like, okay, I've got to go through this. But if my husband comes in and he's like, whoa, and like he looks for something in my little office drawer, it's bad in there, y'all. It's bad. And so I have to regularly maintain, but it helps me when maybe he can come in or someone else can come in and identify things. So find someone in your ministry if you're not good at it. If you are like me and you're a little bit of a hoarder and you think, well, we're going to use these empty water bottles, like we are. You need someone to come in and be like, you're not, like you're really not. So we're going to throw them away. So get that person, get a volunteer. It doesn't have to be you.
I think that's such a great interjection because all of these things might not be your strength. You might be like, oh, I am really good at that. I do like to purge at our house and I can do that at church. But yeah, I can purge, but it'll take me all day. Some of my moms could come and purge in an hour and I walk in and the room is like beautiful. And that's really what it's meant to be too. This is not all supposed to be on one person. We're here to equip and empower the church. So I think ask for help. It's so important. And it made me think of this one mom. She came in one time to help me in year 1. We were purging, we were cleaning, we were doing all the things. And this is another free thing that you can do is just rearrange the room. Rearranging the furniture that you already have, making new preschool centers, rearranging chairs in your preteen room. So it's like, oh, we want to hang out over there in that cool corner with the beanbag, but that is just moving the stuff you already have and not just in the same room. Like we are taking this shelf from here. We are taking these chairs from here. We are swapping and mixing it up, age appropriate, of course, but just seeing it with some new eyes, helps. And that's completely free. That is like a 1-day project, of looking at every room and just rearranging furniture, going one room at a time. There are free things to do.
Yes.
The next thing I'll do, okay, this is one of my favorite things to do in a space, and that is paint. It is also one of the cheapest things you can do to change your space. You're not demoing, you're not building new structures, you're not, making a brand new kind of sensory play station, although that would be awesome. But just giving the space fresh paint will instantly transform your room. If you've had darker colors, lighten it up, make it light and bright. If your space is small, then give it some light color to make it feel bigger. Or you have an old shelf, but it's still good. It's got life left. Paint it. Paint the shelf so that it looks fresh. And it doesn't take a million different paint colors. I would say like pick 2 or 3. Get a good neutral, a calm color, and maybe like a fun pop that goes with your ministry branding, and then put it up everywhere. Or if you don't know what color you want, take a friend in your ministry who can help you pick. I've done that before. I've also gone to Home Depot, Lowe's, and checked their Oops paint section. Where
Yes.
Oops paint is usually 75 to 90% off. Because they just want to get rid of it. And you might find like 5-gallon tubs and you're good. You could do your whole wing with that at 90% of the cost. I've seen it down to 50 cents for a sample like jar
Yeah.
before, which you can
And
paint a nice little small furniture with that,
y'all be bold and say, hey, I work with a church. Anyway, you would donate this? Like, would you be willing to donate this to our ministry? Because we're trying to refresh.
Yes.
Don't be afraid to ask. And fine, if they don't, pay the $5. But it doesn't hurt to say, hey, we would love if you wanted to chip in on this and help us because we're doing a refresh and we're on a really low budget. So love
Sure.
that. Oops paint. Brilliant, right? Why
Yeah.
not? Check it out. Why not do it for $5? Totally great.
Yes. And yeah, you might just be the gift of a tax write-off that they needed. And you are then blessed because you just got all your paint for free. Who knows?
Exactly.
Another cheap thing you can do is working on your signage. Yes, you can do expensive installed signs outside your door, which I do think are very important and goals to work towards. But you can make just as clear signs through Canva and computer paper and acrylic sign holders stuck to your wall. And just to put up something that is clear and maybe in your brand fonts, and something easy and quick to read so that bathrooms are this way, kids check in this way, preschool is this way, this is the 1-year-old room, this is the 2-year-old room. And another thing I like to do is even outside the rooms, thinking of your signage when you're at drop-off, when you're at pickup. What is the signage right there outside the door? Things that you can easily, on a low budget, do either with a new paper every Sunday, or I like to do just like magnetic dry erase boards or a magnetic board. And I would always put on the board, obviously, who's in this room, what age, okay? If there's different hours, like make sure you specify who is in this room at this certain time. Talk a quick one-liner of what are we learning today? What snack are they eating so that there's an allergy notice for families? And then who is in this room today? All the way through volunteers. And so this kind of leads me to my next quick hack, and that is how you are taking care of your volunteers, the people God has given you. How are you training them to be an extension of your first impressions? Because meeting with your team and training them also is a low budget thing, but makes a huge impact because they're extensions of you and your heart and your values of this ministry and the impressions you want to make. So this is something simple, but for all my volunteers, I would take their picture on a fun little Polaroid picture. And I kept them all on one big wall. It was called like the dream team, the production team. But then when it was their week to work in their room, I took those pictures. They had magnets on the back and I stuck them outside the room so that parents could even visually see who is in the room. And it had their name on the bottom. So if they're a visitor and they could see, oh, Miss Hannah and Miss Martha are working in the 2-year-old class today. And I'm seeing it even before I'm about to have the child transfer happen. And it also made our volunteers feel so valued. Another thing I did for them, that this was another easy thing, but we had a room that was not being used and we made it the volunteer lounge. Okay. I just grabbed furniture that was already in our church, but just wasn't being used. Every Sunday, there would be hot coffee, there would be donuts, and then there was the board of who's working where, and any kind of announcements I would give them. But that was where they came, they got their lanyards, they could get coffee, they could get a donut. And that's not paint, that's not clutter or reorganizing, but that is making a first impression with your volunteers that makes them feel valued, that makes them feel seen, that makes them feel so cared for that they have their caffeine before they go on their 3 hours of serving. But what I saw that happened is that because they felt loved and seen, then it overflowed then in a way that they treated the families, in the way that they loved on the kids and cared for them. And I always told them, like, those little interactions at the door, the 30 seconds is 30 seconds of ministry. Like, it might be the first time someone looked at the mom's eyes and just asked, "How are you? Like, it's so good to see you." And like, as a busy mom, that could like make me cry because not often are people like, "No, really, like, how are you?" The ministry at the door and training them for that is so important. So looking at your volunteers, asking, how can I take care of them so that they feel loved and seen, so that overflows into the first impressions that are then happening with my families, whether it's their 50th Sunday or their first. They are an extension of the first impression. And logistically, let's talk about volunteers and the visual of a volunteer. That's also another easy, low budget thing you can do. I love a easily identifiable children's volunteer. You can be as simple as a magnet name tag. You can be as cheap as a bulk order of bright yellow lanyards on Amazon, and everyone's name tag look the same. I mean, it does not have to be this branded, epic, wonderful thing, but just having all of them the same. If you want to get matching t-shirts, I am a big fan of that, so that they're clear, they're the same color. You can see they are working with children. I can ask them for, where is the family bathroom? I need to change my child's diaper, something like that. But just to make them easy to identify, you can get t-shirts so cheap now, or you can even make your own. Like, there are $5 shirts at Walmart and Hobby Lobby all the time that you could iron on your own kid volunteer on the side. Like, this can be a very, very inexpensive way to then make your team identifiable. Okay, I think having your volunteers feel loved for and being that extension of your first impressions is so important. But then I'm going to think about the experience that they have kind of outside the walls of the classroom of your ministry. And that is the family experience that might happen before they even speak to a volunteer. And that is their experience from door to your welcome area, then to the classroom. One of my favorite things to do is to really be intentional with the welcome check-in area. I want you to think about, like, where is your grand central station in your children's ministry? Where is the hubbub, the in and out happening? And maybe that's multiple areas. Maybe it's not just one, but how can you be intentional with that space? I think having very clear signage is wonderful. A trained volunteer, having a first time family gift ready for a visiting family, something small, Dollar Tree gift kind of bag. It can be as splashy as you want with everything about your church and branded and like fun fanny pack or backpack, whatever. It can be as simple as like bubbles and like a little Sonic gift card, Thank you so much for coming. Clear things for upcoming events like posters, calendars, family resources and books that you like for them to be aware of. Maybe there's a spot where they can drop off family prayer requests for you to be aware of. But making that area clean and easy to quickly understand is so important. Then let's talk about easy ways that you can make first impressions outside the walls of your church, okay? This is like, we're talking about cents, okay? Not even the dollars, the cents. I don't even know if kids know how to make change anymore, but us adults, we know what I'm talking about. Okay. Okay. I want to talk about cards, the mail, the snail mail, okay? It was so important to me that our kids got birthday cards from the children's ministry, like real handwritten birthday cards we sent to every child every month. And then in the card, it would say like, and bring this card back to Miss Martha for a gift from our treasure chest. And so they would bring me their birthday card. I'd see it, whatever. We'd pull out the treasure chest and they got to pick a prize for their birthday. But I would hear all the time from parents like how excited the kids were. And years after years, they'd knew it was coming. And they would come to me, Miss Martha, I haven't got my birthday card yet. And I'm like, oh, it got mailed last week. It's coming. It's coming. But they were looking forward to it, and it made them feel so seen and loved and cared for. Like, what an impression that we can make that made it so exciting, as they knew like their church cared for them and their birthday in the small things. And that does not cost a lot of money. Same for a card for a new baby, or maybe the child has accepted Jesus as their savior and you're going to send a card, or the way you even celebrate that at church. Again, could be a whole nother episode, but really celebrating those milestones in simple, budget-friendly ways is so, so, so important. Remembering that they see the things that we value before they might hear it from us, or they receive it in the mail before they even hear, like, oh yeah, your birthday is important to me. Like, I love you and I care about you. Well, we just sent a card and it said all the same things, but without those words, right? Okay, this is my last big hack, Hannah, and it's something I am very passionate about because it is so cheap, but it makes such a splash. And if you have seen our With Families Instagram, you know that this is a little passion project of mine, okay? And that is balloons, okay, y'all? Balloons are some of the best ways that you can decorate for just seasonal things, right? Because balloons, they do die, okay? But they are so inexpensive. And I do think it is so important for us to think about how we're decorating and making our spaces refreshed and different through the seasons. I read the book Habits of the Household, and it talked about families and their habits are formed through their rhythms. And it talked about the daily rhythms of our home, but also the seasonal rhythms. Like, my kids know it's fall because I'm decorating my house with pumpkins everywhere, right? Well, the same is true about church. I mean, think about in the Bible, the feast and the festivals that they would have. They would stop to celebrate and remember what God had done. And I think the same is true of us in our church spaces. Like, if we are not decorating for Christmas and celebrating that our Savior came to earth, what are they going to think, like, that it's not important for home either? And I also think about the kids, like, maybe they don't get a tree up in their home. Maybe their family can't decorate for the seasons, or maybe they don't go to a pumpkin patch and hold a little gourd, but when they walk into your space, they can. They hold a pumpkin, or they see a tree, or they see flowers for spring. But all of those are those rhythms that really form your ministry, form the things that you celebrate. And I'm not just saying we celebrate spring because of flowers. We're celebrating spring because of the resurrection of our Savior, And so making those moments really celebrated in what the room looks like is very important. But going back to balloons, so let's talk about how to do this real cheap, okay? There are balloon arches now for like $7, $8. They're so cheap. And in fact, in my breakout at the conference, I'm even going to be giving like a 5-minute tutorial on how to whip up the fastest balloon arch ever. It'll take you like an hour. Okay, give me 1 hour and you can transform your space with some balloons. So that won't be the whole breakout, but we are going to talk about it because I think sometimes you see it and you're just like, I can't do that, but it's pretty easy. So we're going to go over that. But they're so cheap. You can throw them up. You can enjoy them for the season. And then when they start to look super sad, you pop them and you throw them away. You don't have to add anything to your resource room. You don't have to organize more stuff because you just used it and it was great and it was less than $30 and now it goes in the trash. The end. I love balloons and kids love balloons. And the last thing I'll say is just shop smart. There are places to shop for things like we talked about, the paint, places for furniture, places for decor that are cheaper than others. So make sure you're shopping smart, always checking places like Facebook Marketplace or Hobby Lobby or Five Below. I love making me a good Amazon list like teachers do. Make a registry for your children's ministry that you're constantly adding to. So when someone walks up to you, because they will, and they'll be like, what do you need? And I'll be like, I need a new bookshelf for my second grade room because theirs fell and all their Bibles are just stacked on a table right now. And I really want their Bibles on a shelf. Just be ready. Like, you're always scrolling and seeing like things that you might like, but the budget's just not there. So make your list. And then when people ask, you're ready and they can help chip in on that as well. Just remembering like the churches that make the biggest first impressions usually aren't the ones with the biggest budgets. They're just the ones that are being the most intentional, like with what they have.
We actually talked about this a couple of weeks ago on the podcast, budget and how to do it smart. So go back and listen to that episode and all the things Martha just shared. Absolutely. You should be watching for Amazon Prime Day. Walmart does flash deals. Back to school time, maybe once it's over, right? Okay, great. Now I'm going to go through and get all the stuff that's left over from the teachers decorating their classrooms, right? So be smart. Talk to teachers that you work with in the church. Maybe they have stuff from a classroom that they changed their theme. Now you can use some of that stuff. Are there local churches in the area? My church that I'm currently attending is smaller, but we're connected with a bigger church in the area. Hey, if you do a furniture refresh, would you let me know? Because I would love to see what you're donating or giving away. Hopefully they won't throw that away. They could give it to you and you can paint it or redo it or whatever you need to do to get some fresh things, because we want to all work together. And I think so many of you have that mindset with sharing VBS decor, sharing old things. Let's get that mindset around things like furniture or, some of these check-in things that it doesn't have to be new to everyone. It can be new to you and you're going to touch it up. All the things Martha's saying, some paint, some cleaning, some TLC can go a long way. What would you say as we kind of wrap up? What is one easy change every kids ministry, one or two, that they can make this month, like starting on Sunday, starting this week? Easy change.
Absolutely. And you might feel overwhelmed like I could never do all that. And that is true. You can't. And so I say pick one spot you want to make 10% better. And then next week or next month, do the same thing and just make it a little bit better. Maybe it's your handwritten signs turn to printed signs, or maybe your volunteers that are just showing up get lanyards, or maybe it's the pictures that have been on your computer for years finally get printed and hung up in all of your spaces so that they can see your ministry. If I had to pick one space that I think is the most important that you tackle first, though, it is your check-in area. It is the main hub, like I call it the Grand Central Station, because that is where so many of your first impressions are made. And so if you're like, I need one space, I would say get to your check-in area, see it with fresh eyes, ask, can a first-time family figure this out without asking for help? And if the answer is no, then start chipping away at it so that they can do the whole thing without asking for help. But and I know you're going to have some great trained volunteers there with smiles on their face to help them and greet them and love on them, because little changes over consistent time are going to make that huge impact. So don't see it as like, I have to do this all tomorrow. Just chip away at it 10% at a time.
So good. And I think it's James Clear that talks about that 1%. And he's probably quoting someone. Improve 1% every day, right? And that's for you as a person. But every time you're in the church, if you're working from the church 4 days a week and then Sundays, what could you do to make something 1%, 2% better? Is it decluttering one counter? I think we get in this all or nothing mentality where it's like we have to do all of this or we just won't do any of it. Exactly what Martha is telling you. Do one thing. Like, what is one small thing you could do to be better for the next Sunday? And remembering that you're helping break down the walls for these families to come back. Something we always said at our church was just keep coming back. Like, for people who just accepted Jesus or who maybe were on their journey of faith, just keep coming back. That's your best next step. And you're helping tear down the wall so people will keep coming back.
So they want to come back and experience this great experience that you helped create for them.
And you've gotten a sneak peek today of Martha's breakout. It's going to be so good. Balloon arch tutorials. Listen, if y'all are out there, if y'all have not yet, I've just coming out of my like bridal shower era with all my friends, and now it's like baby shower era. And you have to know how to do a balloon arch. It was like, if you're the person who knew how to do the balloon arch, you were the one called for the party. Like, everybody knows, oh, well, Casey can do a balloon arch, so we're going to need her at the party. So you need to figure out the balloon arch thing. So go to Martha's breakout. What's maybe one more thing leaders are going to be able to walk away with coming out of your breakout?
It is so important to me that you leave with practical ideas, not like, oh my gosh, well, that was nice, but I have no idea where to start when I get home. I'm going to give you some practical ideas, and I want you to feel encouraged and inspired that you can do them. So some things that we're going to talk about in there is furniture layout, decorating on a budget, family resource areas, seasonal decor, milestone celebrations, and yes, even how to build that balloon arch for less than $30. So you're going to get some really good practical things that you can take home and use no matter the size, no matter the budget of your church. And y'all, we're talking about balloons, so it's going to be a fun time. It's going to be a fun time.
It's going to be a fun time.
And all the different ways where you can make a big splash and a big difference to create that incredible first impression for your family. So they want to come back because they're like, wow, this ministry expected me to come. They were ready for me to be here, and I felt so loved. And my kids were so stinking excited because they got to hold a pumpkin while I filled out their check-in sticker, okay? They just want to go back to see the pumpkins, whatever it is, you know?
Who doesn't love those baby pumpkins? Like, I'm obsessed with them. I'm obsessed with them.
And they're also very budget friendly.
Very budget friendly. Especially if you get an adult. Listen, we've got
Amen.
you. We've got you. And Martha's ministry as well, the With families. You see the With kits behind her on her bookshelf if you're watching on YouTube. And this is amazing. You need to go check it out. Her link's going to be in the bio, and I'll read that for you in a minute. It's withfamilies.co. But these kits, families can subscribe and get new kits. They can buy them one-off. It doesn't have to be a subscription. But they can say, hey, I want to get the kit on creation or the kit on Easter. And that comes to their house. It's going to give them activities, a devotional, the box, you can color it. Like, it is super interactive for your families to be able to take that home. And I mean, what if your church could go together and get an Easter box for everybody who comes to church on Easter? Okay. Like, there's something worth spending your budget on, right? Like saying, hey, let me send you home with something that's going to minister to you. Maybe it's something you do a drawing for once a month for anybody who signs up for your newsletter or follows you on social media. Like, really, really cool resources. Or if you're a parent, honestly, you need to check it out just for your family because they're so cool.
Thanks, Hannah. We are very passionate about With Kids and worship in the home and helping equip families and leaders. We have been there. We are on the front lines, and we get it. And we know that it can be hard to reach parents and equip them to disciple their kids outside of the church walls. And so that is how With Kids was born. Families love them. Kids beg to do them. Recently, we even had a little girl who accepted Jesus because of the conversations that their family had just by opening the box and doing their family devotionals through With Kids consistently. It literally was like the best call I ever got. It was incredible. So we have such a heart to equip families and help leaders. So yeah, leaders, we're here for you to supply these for your church, and families, we're here to deliver them right to your door. So shop or subscribe and save. You can check out our site at withfamilies.co. There's so many ways God has used this box to break down barriers and get the gospel into homes. And we are so grateful we get to be a part and just see him move in ways like that.
Fantastic. You can take a moment. Don't forget, if you want to up your check-in station game, go to store.kidcheck.com. Check out the new Check-in Station Pro. Great way, right, to help elevate your check-in area game. Just keep things simple, keep things clean. And don't forget, you guys can get your tickets to the Kids Matter Conference. You're going to want to meet Martha. Clearly, you love her already. I know you do. And you could do that. Get your tickets at thekidsmatterconference.com. Come learn about balloon arches, all of the fun. And be sure to take a moment to like and subscribe. Share this episode with a volunteer who maybe helps you in your check-in area, and let them get in on it and come up with some ideas with you because you're not in this alone. We love you guys, and we will see you next time.